It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Twins Show, extra innings, spring training. The lineups are being constructed. We got split games. We got rainouts. We got all the things that are happening down in Fort Myers. Hey, hit the like button and the subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel and on the podcast feed. Give us a 5-star rating and a positive review. February has been a great month on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel, so we really appreciate everyone that has liked and subscribed to the channon.
Whoa.
And we're about a month away, a little coming in hot on the subscribe and
my bad.
the A-Rod button there, baseball. So I have opening day lineup for you guys. We also have, I want to get Mackey and Judd's thoughts on the Justin Ishbia sale, Justin Ishbia potential buying, falling through on the ownership front. Plus, Derek Falvey will officially take over as team president next week. And a random Twin of the Week. So a packed Twin show here. So hit that like button, subscribe button. All right, fellas. So I have gone back. I'm going to give you opening day lineups 2.0.
Wow.
There's been some changes. There's been some additions to the roster since the last time we did this. I think I did this about a month ago before they reported and before, honestly, the additions of like Bader and Ty France. So we have a lot of moving parts here. I will say, and I'm not trying to bury a lead here, but the Twins are clearly, in spring training early on, giving Matt Wallner run as the leadoff hitter. He's going to lead off again today. And this could mean one of two things. Number one, they listened to Deck's tweets and thought, hey, Matt Wallner does belong at the top of the lineup, just like I thought a year ago. Or two, they're obviously trying to get Matt Wallner as many at-bats as possible, leading off in the spot. He had a great second half last year. I saw a big reason why he struggled so much from the jump last year was because he put on so much weight in the offseason. He bulked up too much. His swing didn't feel natural. He goes down to AAA, has to figure things out, comes back up to the Twins, and honestly was pretty much their best hitter over the last 3 months of the season once he got recalled from St. Paul. I don't have Walner batting leadoff yet in my mock lineup 2.0, but I think we're getting closer and closer to that. So that is something to watch as spring training unfolds.
I kind of like it because he was sneakily one of the best hitters in baseball for a long stretch. He's kind of an on-base slugging and I guess OPS machine. And yeah, like it's a much more stolen base friendly world in Major League Baseball now. But even if the Twins decide we're going to lean a little more into stealing bases, they were by far the most reluctant base stealing team in the league last year. So I think just loading up the top of your lineup with your best hitters who produce the most in terms of avoiding outs and hitting for power, it's a little non-traditional. But like in today's baseball, Kyle Schwarber has been a leadoff hitter for stretches, and you see it's different than it was 15 or 20 years ago. So I'm all for it. If he feels comfortable, sometimes guys don't feel comfortable just like being the first hitter in the lineup. But if he can handle it and if he feels comfortable, I'm all for this.
I do have one question though. So because I saw the story that said that he came into spring training a year ago at 250 and decided that he didn't decide he got there, and it's like, oh my God, the ball's not doing the same thing off my bat, and now he's like down to 240 something, right, Dex, or something like that. But anyway, here's my question: did he just go rogue? Like, don't teams now, it's 2024, don't teams ordinarily put guys on plans, and don't they know what's going to happen? Like it just sounds like dude went home and it's like, weight room time, baby.
I think he looked at it as, because you don't have a lot of time, obviously, during like spring training through the end of the season to like hit the gym and bulk up. So I think he looked at the offseason as the plan of, I'm going to bulk the hell up because I have, 3 months of time to kill.
Right.
And I think this also goes back to their hitting approach from an individual person approach, which David Popkins had, to now a team approach. I think I totally think it was different in philosophies, 100%.
Yeah, I'm just curious though, like, is there not a nutritionist staff there that was like, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing. I'm thinking of becoming Hercules. I'm going to become the Incredible Hulk. They're like, oh, that's great. You go, do you. It's just sort of weird. Like, it's a very like '80s thing. This happened in the '80s when guys would just take their own approach. I thought we now were to a point where a team would be like, hey, you know what? You're pretty good at 242 or something like that. So just a little, it struck me as odd, and that question in the story was not answered.
All right, so I'll give you the lineups here. Some changes, some things remaining the same from a year ago. We'll start with an opening day lineup against a right-handed pitcher, which is the Twins' plan here. Sonny Gray will likely get the I think it's pretty much official. He'll likely get the opening day nod for the Cardinals in St. Louis. So here's your lineup, 1 through 9. No changes at the top. I'm keeping Willi Castro as the leadoff hitter here. I think they value Willi. He spent, I think it was 60-plus games as the leadoff hitter last season. I had Willi as my leadoff hitter in 1.0. I had him in left field, but in this instance, I have Willi Castro leading off, but at second base. So defensively, I have him at second. Gives you a switch hitter at the top of your lineup. So Willi Castro does remain my leadoff hitter for now in opening day lineup 2.0. Batting second, I'm actually going to move Byron Buxton up to 2. If they value speed and they want stolen bases and they want to move guys over, this is the slowest lineup in baseball. Why not put your 2 fastest guys at the top? I know, now Buck is not an OBP dude. He slugs a lot. He hits balls hard. And Willi Castro, in his career, is better against righties. But at the same time, not your traditionally best OBP dudes, but it does put speed at the top of your lineup. And if that's the plan here, if they want to emphasize that, you may as well put the 2 fastest guys at top. So Buck batting second and in center field.
So real quick, on Buxton, I think he only stole like maybe 10 bases last year, and it's always like touch and go with how hurt is he, how conservative are they with what they ask him to do physically, etc. I would just lean into him as a base stealer, and I guess you just cross your fingers and hope that he doesn't jam a thumb. But yeah, he attempted 9. He stole 7. The most he has stolen since 2019 is 9 bases in 2021 and 23. What's crazy is like his success rate when he tries is insane. He's only been caught stealing 12 times in 10 years.
It's nuts.
So I'm not asking for 50 stolen bases here, but all right, he says he's feeling better than he has. This is the first offseason that he hasn't had to worry about like rehabbing something. So he's coming in as close to 100% as he can be. I green light him a little more. Let's lean into it a little bit more.
The key to me is Castro. 2023, 33 stolen bags. I mean, for the Twins, that's freaking Lou Brock.
Yeah.
Last year, 14.
Yeah.
And just for context, the at-bats in 2023 for Castro, 358. Last year, 558. So like that to me is the one of what changed there and why. Like if you're going to steal bases and you're concerned about Buck, I mean, you're not going to be concerned about Castro too. So that's the guy that I would like to see run more, especially when he proved as a Twin that he could do exactly that.
Yeah, well, I think they pumped the brakes a little last year because his success rate was so bad. Like you really, as a team and as a player, you really need to be minimum 75% for the math to work out. Ideally, over 80% success rate. And I don't know, what's 14 divided by 23? It's definitely less than 75%. So they might have, but 2 years ago, to your point, Castro was 33 for 38 stealing bases, which was a great success rate.
Right.
So which version of a base stealer is he for his career? If you go out like to his Detroit years too, it's a bigger sample. It's 65 for 90. So he's still kind of below that threshold. He had the one really good stolen base year. He might just not be like Buxton is a great base stealer when he tries. Castro might just be a volume shooter.
Bags are bigger now. Bags are bigger.
Batting third, Matt Wallner. So this goes switch, righty, lefty in the first 3 spots. Matt Wallner will bat third. I think the second half, what he was able to do last year has earned him the right to be batting high up in this order. He's in right field too to start things off. So Matt Wallner will bat right. So switch, righty, lefty here against Sonny Gray on opening day. And then 4 and 5, I have Carlos Correa batting cleanup at shortstop, obviously. Royce Lewis batting 5th and at third base. These are what should be two of your best hitters on the team on paper. Correa, if he's healthy, is obviously a masher at the plate. Royce Lewis looking to put behind a very ugly end to the season and prove that he can legitimately hang and stay healthy for the entire year. I mean, on paper, those first 5 hitters, Castro, Buxton, Walner, Correa, Lewis, provided the health of the last 2, and honestly, Buxton I should include there as well, that's a pretty damn good start to a lineup. So that's your first 5 hitters in opening day lineup 2.0.
So as you look at this, I see what the Twins are doing with Matt Wallner at leadoff, because these are definitely 4 of you. These are your 4 best hitters, 2 through 5. But when Buxton's going, he's one of the best power hitters in the game. Walner, in a smaller sample size, but figuring it out last year, was excellent. And then Correa, Lewis, we know what those guys can do when they're at their peak. And the odd man out here is Willi Castro, except for the first half of last year when he was one of the best hitters on the team. And I think the question with Castro is, if the first half of last year is something he can carry over and be repeatable, I'm good with him hitting toward the top of the order for all the speed, the base running, whatever. But if we're going to get kind of what he's been, body of work for 6 years in the bigs, which is a below average OPS plus, a guy that gets on base a little bit, this is where I would actually just bump Willi Castro back toward the bottom of the order and either slide everyone up or put Walner ahead of Buxton, and now Correa hits 3rd, Royce Lewis hits 4th. So depends on what you're getting from Willi. Willi Castro does not get like 3 months to hit a bunch of ground balls and commit a bunch of outs. If he comes out hot, cool, you can stay up there.
My thought process here is Rocco loves Willi, and I think he's going to want to value him at the top of the lineup to start the year. Now, this is also where I'd love to understand like lineup construction. Like they are, I mean, I look at today's lineup against the Rays, and it's like this could very well be a very similar opening day lineup. Now, Vasquez is catching today against Tampa, but what they're trying to do here is I can see that being 100% an opening day lineup against the Cardinals. I think Castro gets the benefit of the doubt if the season started tomorrow, but if Walner continues to show that he is ready, then yes, I do think you bump Willi Castro down this lineup.
Here's a crazy. So go ahead, Judd. You go first.
I was going to say, I think the 2 things that we've learned since spring training started or right before is, 1, Castro is the second baseman if that works. Like Julian, I think, could make the roster, potentially play some second, but because Baldelli has basically pulled the plug on Castro playing short and center field now, but he likes him, I think he's playing second. The other thing, and I don't know if this is purely Rocco or this came from discussions, is my guess, but I do think that they are trying to emulate spring training way more as what they're going to do, as opposed to let's just take it slowly and eventually we'll get to it. So, Dex, I think you're probably right. I think from day 1 of spring training this year, the goal was to emulate the season as far as construction purposes as much as possible. So you are probably correct. This feels like a ramp up to the season opener as opposed to an easing into it.
I'm going to give you one more Willi Castro fact here, just part of the ammunition. So he has, if you look at his career, he has batted in all 9 spots in the order with 3rd and cleanup being like a really small amount. Like just kind of throw away batting 3rd and cleanup. So when he's batting 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, he has enough sample size, like couple hundred, 300 plate appearances at each of those slots in the order. When he bats leadoff or 9th, he has crazy numbers, like really good numbers. When he bats 2nd, he's a disaster. When he bats 6th, 7th, or 8th, he's kind of like slightly below league average. So Willi Castro as a leadoff hitter has a 781 OPS, which is awesome. He gets on base at a 350 clip. He slugs over 430. When he bats 2nd, historically, his OPS drops by 230 points. So I don't know. Some of it might just be like some of these guys get in there and they bat leadoff, and it's like I'm going to be hunting for my pitch. I'm going to jump on a fast. I know that pitcher is going to try and start the game or the inning with, a strike and not fall behind. I'm going to hunt for those things. So I don't know. Something to watch with Willi Castro.
Rounding out 4 more spots here against a righty, Trevor Larnach batting 6 and in left field. Again, this doesn't really prevent you from having a run too many on right-handed hitters. So Larnach will go in left batting 6. Ryan Jeffers will bat 7th and be behind the plate. Ty France, the new addition to first base, who is really looking forward to putting behind a ugly 2024. Obviously showing a lot of confidence in his own ability. It really feels like they're giving him every right to be the opening day first baseman. I know they're still going to mix in Miranda and maybe Eddie Julian there. Again, to Judd's point, it feels like they are just really set in their ways of what they want this lineup to look like. And if Ty France has put that heel injury behind him, he's healthy. I do appreciate the quotes of him saying, I think I'm actually a lot better than advanced metrics said I was last season. He's at first base, batting 8th. And then rounding things off, I have Brooks Lee. So Brooks Lee will be DH, batting 9th. This does give the Twins switch hitters at the bookends of their lineup, which can cause obviously a lot of advantages to them in terms of pitching changes and whatnot. I don't know if Brooks Lee is still a lock to make this roster. I think if things progress the way they should be, he will be on the opening day roster. But I have Brooks Lee batting 9th at DH. So 1 through 9, your opening day lineup 2.0 against a righty. Willi Castro at second, Byron Buxton in center field, Matt Wallner batting 3rd and right, Carlos Correa at short, Royce Lewis batting 5th at 3rd, Trevor Larnach batting 6th in left field, Ryan Jeffers behind the plate, Ty France batting 8th at first, and Brooks Lee switch hitter at DH.
Do we think Brooks Lee or Willi Castro is a better defensive second baseman?
I think they trust Willie more there right now. I think if opening day were tomorrow, I think they trust Willi Castro there more. But I think long term, I think Brooks Lee is going to be a hell of a fielder.
Yeah, because like Brooks can't hit yet, he in the major leagues, which is why I would not put him at DH. But we'll see what spring training looks like for him. Sorry, Judd, go ahead.
Dex, has your opinion on Brooks Lee changed since spring training opened as far as making the opening day 25 or 26? And because we talked about that at the time, and there clearly was some consternation coming out of last season with him. So when you give us this, has your opinion changed on his opportunity or his chances of actually being in the opening day lineup?
I think it's probably
the roster.
Yep, I think it's probably about the same as it was. Obviously, not being down there, I haven't been able to discuss where he falls in the pecking order wise of where they like him developing. I think it's probably the same just from afar, but I would probably, if I was betting, will he make the opening day roster or not, I would still lean yes than no, at least as of now.
Okay.
Is there any way that, so if Brooks Lee makes it, does that mean Edward Julian does not make the roster?
That's correct. I think that is correct.
Because I would actually trust right now, like Brooks Lee obviously has hit in the minor leagues, but if his glove is the more major league ready thing than his bat. So if I'm going to have Brooks Lee on the 26th to start the season, I'd want to put his glove somewhere as opposed to DHing him. It's like I'd rather have Edward Julian as a DH against a right-handed pitcher than Brooks Lee, personally.
I can see that. I can see a path where Julian does make the roster as a guy who can maybe mash righties and make some swing tweaks, which he has apparently done this offseason to kind of cut down on those strikeout lookings and whatnot. I can see a path where Brooks Lee starts in the minors and they do roll with Julian as their platoon against righties. That's a realistic path right now too. Taking a look at an opening day lineup against a lefty, or their first lineup maybe per se against a lefty, because they're likely not going to face one on opening day. Here's what it looks like. I have Byron Buxton batting leadoff against a lefty. Again, speed. He should crush lefties. Let's put more speed on top. Let's maybe get a home run to start the game. Buck in center and batting leadoff. I move Brooks Lee up in the order because historically he has done a better job in the minor leagues of hitting left-handed pitching. So I move Brooks Lee up from batting 9th to now batting 2nd. So this now gets Brooks Lee at second base defensively too in this lineup order. So Brooks Lee at second, a switch hitter. So going righty against lefty starter to start things off. Carlos Correa batting 3rd and at short. So Correa, who has historically just mashed lefties in his entire career, he bats 3rd at short. Royce Lewis, same story, bats cleanup and still at 3rd base. I have Ryan Jeffers moving up a spot. Jeffers has historically also mashed lefties really well. I know in a situation like the Twins love to not have catchers catching back-to-back days. It's just not part of Rocco's DNA. But in theory, I'm just going with the best possible lineup against a lefty here, not necessarily going with now Vasquez has to catch. Like, no, I'm going to give you the best possible lineup against a lefty. So I still have Jeffers behind the dish.
I wonder if that changes a little bit this season. I wonder if he's going to alter that a little bit. Like it feels like there are some, for Baldelli, some sort of seismic changes. I wonder if Vasquez continues to be very mediocre at the plate and Jeffers plays well. I'm not saying that Jeffers is going to catch some inordinate amount of games, but like to your point, Declan, that rotation a year ago was like you could put that thing in stone. And I'm curious if they alter that just a little bit.
They love, and also like there's a path too where they have Vasquez catching and Jeffers DHing against the lefty because Jeffers does destroy left-handed pitching. So like that is also a path where they have both their catchers in the lineup too. But yeah, it could change. I think philosophy-wise though, I'd have to wait and see before I think I make a declaration that they will go to like a 70-30 split as opposed to a 50-50 split. Batting sixth against the lefty, I do have Jose Miranda at DH. Here's the thing. Like, I want to put him actually against a righty. Jose Miranda, as a right-handed hitter, actually, historically, does hit righties a lot better than lefties. But I think his bat does play. He had a great run there last year. But on the bookends of last season, kind of had a wonky year where in the middle of June and July, he was literally one of the best hitters in baseball. He, I think got a hit in 14 straight games, which tied a record at the time. And I want to get him in the lineup, so I do have him at DH, batting sixth against the lefty. I still have Ty France batting seventh at first base against the left-handed pitcher, which should work out pretty well for the Twins. Matt Wallner is still the lone lefty I think they might trust against left-handed pitching. We'll see if that also changes philosophy-wise. Love the platoon. Again, until I see it, I can't really set it in stone that they're going to try more lefty-on-lefty situations. And then rounding things out in this left-handed order, Harrison Bader in left field. I thought about, does Bader make sense as a leadoff hitter? I looked back. He has led off like 14 games his entire career as a leadoff hitter. He bats 7 through 9. He's a defensive wizard. Cross your fingers with his bat. He does hit lefties decent in his career, but not well enough where I'm going to make a bold decision to make him lead off against lefties. So your opening day lineup against the left-handed pitcher would be Buck in center, Brooks Lee at second, Carlos Correa at short, Royce Lewis at third, Jeffers batting fifth at catcher, Jose Miranda batting sixth at DH, Ty France batting seventh at first, Matt Wallner in right, Harrison Bader in left. Those are your opening day lineups. 2.0.
I would fight you again on Brooks Lee, and I would just move Brooks Lee toward the bottom and move everyone else up.
Or St. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would just put Carlos Correa in the 2 spot, Royce Lewis in the 3, until Brooks Lee shows you that he's worthy of hitting second in a major league lineup. But he is, he's going to get run in spring training. So we'll have a more clear picture in like a month what the team thinks of him. But otherwise, yeah, this is a pretty badass lineup against left-handed pitching because you're running out some real right-handed mashers here. Jose Miranda, keep the dream alive. And Ty France seems very irritated with the public perception of his last couple of years. So if he's healthy, then you might be getting, because he's in his prime. It's not like he's 35 years old.
Right.
So I'm very, as a former Seattleite for a couple of years, he was legitimately one of the driving forces on a playoff team in Seattle when I lived there. So, yeah, interesting.
I didn't realize, though, until I read the stories from Florida about Ty France, that he basically played a large majority of the season with what sounds like a cracked or broken heel.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, that's
we're ripping him, and he's a tough guy, and we're sitting here ripping.
And
the
guess
guy.
what? The Twins would have yanked him out for 2 months. So, like that's the thing is, because it did seem really weird that he dipped so harshly, and not like it's not because of age. So I am curious to see now if his play picks up. I have a feeling he's not probably a great first baseman. He's probably passable, but at the plate, I think that's where there is definite room for now that he is healthy to really rebound and have a nice season.
Agreed. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe button here. We're going to get Mackey and Judd's thoughts on the Justin Ishbia sale falling through. But a shout out to Kieran's, just steps away from Target Field and Target Center We'll have a little announcement about with our friends at Kieran's here on the SKOR North Twins Show momentarily, but go find your spot there at Kieran's. It's a great area for game day specials, just walking distance away from Target Field. I mean, hell, we could be playing baseball weather this week in the Twin. I'll take these temperatures on opening day on April 6th anytime with 50-degree weather. So go check out Kieran's, which is just steps away from Target Field.
Also, a North American banking company helping to power the SKOR North Twins Show this season. It's a Minnesota-based bank, a Twin Cities-based bank that you don't have to deal with, being put through a million automations or not getting a phone call back from one of the big banks. You get a human connection, a personal relationship. You can just walk right in and you get to know these people. They're great at what they do, cutting-edge online tools as well. So North American Banking Company in Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, and 50th in France. Check them out, nabankcode.com/Mackey to learn more. They'll make your transition super easy, whether it's for checking and savings or something bigger like financing a car or a new home or a new business. nabankcode.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Baseball.
All right, what are your guys' thoughts on Justin Ishbia dropping out here? So Justin Ishbia was the reported favorite for about the last 2+ months, and then Friday night a bombshell kind of comes through that, hey, those minority stakes he's actually had with the Chicago White Sox, he's actually going to pursue a little bit more. He is based in Chicago, so it kind of feels like, I think, for Twins fans, like we're just back at square one. And there's even, I think Dan Hayes threw it out there as well from The Athletic that, I mean, there's a reality where the poll ads just pull this team off the market and keep the team for a little bit longer, which I think would be a disaster scenario for a lot of Twins fans who are hopeful that Justin Ishbia eventually was going to purchase this team. I think the plans for an opening day sale are now pretty much nil. That was kind of the reported rumors when Ishbia was the favorite that, hey, by opening day, there's probably likely going to be a transaction and succession plan in place. Now it feels like they're completely back at square one when this was first announced 3 months ago. So what are your guys' thoughts on Justin Ishbia dropping out on the Twins sale?
We talked about this briefly yesterday, but so leave the reckless speculation to us, folks. We need reporting here. Like this is ridiculous. I'll circle back. Back in the day, the Star Tribune would have had a person on this story. The reality is Justin Ishbia's name and the Ishbia's name leaked, okay? This thing's been kept very quiet. That's not a surprise. But the reality is, if you think there's only one person involved, that's crazy. There's multiple suitors. We don't know them because they've been kept quiet. And could the poll edge yank the team off the market? Sure. That happened with what? Washington, the Angels. So it's a possibility. But the reality is we don't know what we're dealing with here. So I think this whole thing is born largely of, well, we don't know it. We don't know more names. So this is it. This is it. Let it play out. And the whole opening day thing was always overly optimistic. When this whole process started, nobody said opening day. When the Ishbias came up, that's when we said that. So let's just all calm down and understand.
Did the Twins say opening day? I thought that was reported, that the Twins believe they were going to sell the team by opening day. I think a source said. I think the Twins have not commented yet publicly, but there's sources. But I mean, that was the hope. That became the hope. But the hope is different than the reality. There's going to be a process, but we don't know much. And I think it was Bloomberg that got the Ishbia tip, which was a good tip, but that's only one name. So let's all just calm down and let's understand that a sale of a sports team, as we just learned from the what's the word? The tranches of the A-Rod Lori thing, it can take some time. So I'm a little more frustrated with just a general lack of business reporting here. And when one name falls out, oh my God, that must be it. That's what we know. There's so much here. Like the one thing I'll say about a sales process in sports, it's not like a trade, okay? If trades are being talked about, things leak out, right? And Buster Olney or Jeff Passan reports it, and we're like, oh, that's great. And it is great. But when it comes to sales, you've got a tight-lipped firm in New York that does this that's all they do, basically, or it's a big part of what they do. And part of their thing is to put a clamps on it. And there's a clamps on it. And one name got out. And then since that name is now gone, possibly, and by the way, too, the Reinsdorf kids don't want the team. So
And Jerry, keep in mind, who's 80 something now, I believe. Jerry Reinsdorf isn't even the majority owner. He's the controller. So the White Sox thing is not set in stone. It's just what the Ishbias are pivoting to. But these guys are billionaires. They pivot to stuff all the time. So let's just take a deep breath and understand at this point in time, there's a lot we don't know. And this show will deal in the reckless speculation. I want business reporters to get out there and do their damn job, which is dig.
It is, yeah. It's hard to know who to be like angry at on that front, but it is kind of crazy that there's been this is a freaking 65-year franchise in the Twin Cities that's been owned for 2/3 of that by the same family. And there's been essentially zero information about this process other than the Bloomberg Ishbia report that came out a couple months ago. So yeah, it does feel like, oh, that was the one suitor and now they're gone. And without knowing all the inner workings, I do get it from an Ishbia standpoint. Lives in Chicago, Justin does. It is the third biggest market in the United States. So if you're looking at just potential for, now the White Sox have really struggled with attendance over the last, they popped up and were like third in attendance for, I don't know, that might have been like one of the weird pandemic years, but they've generally been like bottom of the barrel in attendance. But it is like, if you can buy low on that team at some point and you can turn it around in the third largest market in the United States, it'll be fruitful for you. My biggest question is, what are the poll ads asking for, and what is a realistic price point for an organization that is nowhere near one of the top like 10 to 15 highest valued organizations in baseball? I mean, like I think the most recent sale we have to go off of is the Orioles sold for $1.7 billion last year. Forbes last year valued the Twins around $1.4 billion. And I guess we're just, we're not in these back rooms, so we don't know. But if I'm someone looking to buy the Twins, the first couple things I would look at are, well, you don't have a stable TV revenue situation right now. I mean, you were literally, and you're not the only team, because the league has an unstable TV situation. ESPN just backed out for the first time in 4 decades, paying $500 million a year. And they said, yeah, we're good. We'd rather run Tiger Woods Golf League simulator for 3 hours every single week. But the other thing I would look at is, since moving into Target Field, after the new stadium shine wore off for the fans, the Twins have been consistently bottom half of the American League and bottom half of baseball in attendance. So people, whether it's just a competitive sports market and people don't show up, the Twins draw it's about half as many fans as the Padres draw, for instance, which is like tens of millions of dollars in ticket revenue and concession revenue every single year. So I'm looking at this and saying, okay, a decade and a half after the new stadium shine wore off, is this a market where people just aren't that into baseball? Or is it more of an ownership problem that fans felt disconnected from a team? They've only won 2 playoff series in 35 years. But those are the things I'm putting on the table for, like, well, we're not gonna pay $1.7 billion. Like, we have to figure out the TV revenue situation and how to get 10, 15,000 more fans in the ballpark every single game. And I just wonder how much of that gap is causing the maybe delay in the sales process.
There's also a distinct possibility that no baseball team is going to sell before December of 26, because if you're going to buy a team, are you going to buy a team? Are you going to want that team when the CBA is going to expire on December 1st of 2026? And there very well could be an immediate lockout that lasts a long time. So, like, there's a lot of things at play here, but I keep coming back to, I think there's a ton we don't know. And as sports fans, we are used to knowing a lot, right? This guy is being shopped around, or this might happen. This is one of those ones where there's a lot going on in the shadows, and like the door cracked just a little bit and we saw some light and we're like, I figured out what that light's all about, and we don't know. But I do think that you can't sleep on the CBA thing, because there's a very real chance that the value of the team will be directly impacted by the fact that there's a huge unknown. And I mean, we literally, unfortunately, it sucks, but we could be looking at the 2027 season being lost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
So-
not beyond possibility.
So when this team gets pulled off the market awkwardly, and the Pohlads still own it in 3 years
Well-
after everyone spoke their truth, fans celebrated that announcement. You know, it was tough
Well,
to
I
put
think-
the toothpaste back in that tube.
I think the Pohlads were trying to get ahead of the game because I don't blame them. My guess is they have no interest in owning this team through a potential lockout. So, like, my guess is that the Pohlads were probably hoping, hey, if we sell it now, it still looks good, right? But
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. I have a random twin of the week for you guys.
Let's do it. Very excited.
So, yeah, Judd is on a 3-game heater right now. Judd has not lost in a month on random twin of the week. Brian Dozier, Terry Mulholland, and Shane Mack. Dex had back-to-back wins with Denny Hocking and Chuck Knobloch. I had Scott Stahoviak in there. Those are the last handful of random twins. All time, I have 26 wins. Dex 24, Judd 22. So it's a very tightly contested game here historically. I will throw out a series of clues. You guys can shout out answers whenever you think you know. You get up to 3 incorrect guesses. You can't Google, but you can pull up the previous random twins. All right. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. In his worst season as a pitcher, this random twin had an ERA over 6. And in his best season as a hitter, this random twin had an OPS over 1,000.
It's like 2 clues that mean nothing. You just canceled them out. It's very, very creative of you. I will give you that. You get points for creativity, but you've given us nothing. Clue 1, please.
He's a one-time All-Star and a World Series champion. This random twin, his best season ever was worth 5.5 wins above replacement. His worst season ever was minus 0.7 wins above replacement.
0.7.
Yeah, well, 0.7.
yeah.
If you want to put the
I-
0, it's up to you
I
guys.
can try. I heard it right.
Put
All
2
good.
zeros in front of that decimal.
Okay.
It was actually 0.7000.
Okay.
00.
0, 0, 0. Three cone drill.
He was a 13th round draft pick. I believe out of high school. Yep, out of high school. It's like kind of like just high enough where you don't go to college, you know.
But there's no time frame either right now. So okay, cool. Keep going.
I think he was gonna go to LSU, but decided to
Interesting. That takes
like
away.
he's gonna play college there, but decided not to. Let's see here. This random twin did some TV work after his career ended, but it only lasted a few seasons. I don't believe he currently does any media.
I don't think this guy made the All-Star game.
You have a guess?
I've got some thoughts. I don't want to. I'm not going to burn a
I
gas
had
yet.
a
It's
guess,
not-
but it's now no
it's
longer
not
this
worth
guy.
it.
Okay.
So can I ask how the TV work? Was it local stuff? Was it national stuff?
It was local. Local stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This random twin, I'll give you a juicy one here. The peak moment of his career was outdueling Roger Clemens in a World Series game. He actually once led the league in complete games and shutouts in the same season.
Dude, who is this?
Outdueled Roger Clemens in a World Series game.
In fact, if you were to just list like the peak, some of the peak moments of his career, like those last two, you'd think,
Sure.
whoa. But he only made one All-Star game. So he didn't like come anywhere close to being a Hall of Famer. But at the peak of his powers, he was pretty damn good. He played for 5 Major League Baseball teams, but not for the team that drafted him. He was actually traded as a prospect in exchange for a future Hall of Fame pitcher. It was him and a player to be named later for a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Okay, I'll guess. Carl Pavano.
Carl Pavano is correct. The win streak continues.
I guessed this like 2 weeks ago and was wrong, and now that I knew you'd bring it back.
Carl Pavano. Yeah, it was him and a player to me named Lair who turned out to be Tony Armas Jr., who's a solid pitcher, for Pedro Martinez.
Tony Armas' old man was great.
Yep.
Big
the Armas
Big
family
man.
of pitchers.
Yep, Tony Armas.
And Pedro Martinez went to the Red Sox. It worked out very well. Pav was a good, solid starter for the Expos, but then he went to the Marlins. And in that 2003 World Series, he outdueled Roger Clemens in Game 4.
And was a disaster as a Yankee.
Yeah, the Yankees signed him a couple years later as a free agent, and it was mostly injuries and New York Post back page stuff. But he finished out his career. His last year he was old and banged up, but he had 2 really good years with the Twins in 2010. And so 2010, he led the major leagues 7 complete games and 2 shutouts. Mm-hmm. And he started, I think he was the Game 1 starter.
He was.
Against the Yankees in that 2010 playoff series.
So did he do TV work for the Marlins?
Yeah, like Fox Sports Southwest or whatever
I recall seeing that. Yeah.
It was. So Judd's up to 23 wins, 23 for Judd, 24 for Declan, and 26 for myself. Declan will have the clues on next week's Random Twin.
That really stings. Damn it. Hit the like button, subscribe button as I frustratingly end the SKOR North Twin Show of missing out on that clue. Any recent news from spring training we'll hop onto for live episodes of the SKOR North Twin Show, so make sure you subscribe. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back talking at you soon.